In the last few videos, we learned very basics of chemistry. We learned that all matter consists of atoms and that atoms join together to form molecules, and that molecules are different from mixtures, that molecules, the bond between various atoms can only be changed by other chemical reaction. We also learned about how fast these reactions proceed and what are the various types of reactions and bonds. So that forms the building blocks of what is to come in chemistry. Now, chemistry, as you know, is a very wide subject which deals with matter that we see around us to understand how their properties depend on their structure and how we can change them and how we can form new compounds and how we can treat existing compounds to make them more useful. But to do that, we first need to classify the compounds into various types of compounds which have certain behavior. Just the way we classified atoms in a periodic table to understand the similarities between various atoms and why that happens and what are the range of properties and how the atoms behave. Considering that there are so many atoms, we had to classify them into 18 different periods, 18 different groups. Similarly, as far as chemistry goes, broadly all the material can be divided into two types. One is inorganic chemistry, other is organic chemistry. The material that is around us, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the wooden furniture we may be using, the stones which are used for making the flooring in our house, oil that we use in our food, or the oil products that we use in transportation, or lubricants, all those things, steel which is used in making very strong metallic objects. For example, it could be a steel cooking vessel, or the steel that is used in making our car, the copper that is used in our copper wires for carrying electricity, plastic, the new type of material that we use compared to hundreds of years ago when we didn't have these, and of course we have the living organisms. Now all of them are so different. Air is a gas, water is a liquid, wood is solid, but it burns. Stones are solid, they are much more heavier, they are heavier than wood. For example, if you put a piece of wood in water, it would float, whereas stone would sink. Oil is a liquid, but it is a more viscous liquid than water. It's heavier in terms of feel, but yet oil floats on water. So in terms of physical density, it is lighter. Steel is extremely strong and it doesn't burn easily, but it carries heat easily and carries electricity. Copper is softer than steel, but is much more conductive than steel. Plastics can be hard, they can be also soft. And living organisms, of course, have their special characteristics that they, on their own, can achieve a lot of things. A tree can grow, human beings can grow, they can move around, and they can give birth to other human beings. Trees can grow other trees. So many different types of material that exist around us, but that is only a very simple way that we can classify it to begin with is inorganic and organic chemistry. So organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry, let's read this paragraph taken from Wikipedia. Inorganic chemistry deals with synthesis and behavior of inorganic and organometallic compounds. This field covers all chemical compounds except the myriad of organic compounds, which are carbon-based compounds, usually containing carbon-hydrogen bonds, which are also subject of organic chemistry. This definition I have taken from Wikipedia. The link is here. This particular link, you can get a lot of information on inorganic chemistry, and those of you who want to learn more, after watching this video, you can go and have a look at that page. Now going back to the list of compounds that we dealt with, you can see here that air has oxygen, nitrogen. it doesn't have carbon and doesn't obviously have carbon-hydrogen bonds. So air is an inorganic compound. Water consists of hydrogen and oxygen bonds. It doesn't have carbon, so it is clearly inorganic. Wood, on the other hand, has cellulose, which consists of carbon, and it has carbon-hydrogen bonds, and these are organic compounds. Stones are minerals, which could be calcium-based or other metal and oxide-based, so they are inorganic compounds. Oil, vegetable oil clearly is organic, and mineral oil is also an organic compound because it has carbon and hydrogen in it. Steel doesn't have carbon, it's got iron and other metals, so that is inorganic. Copper is inorganic. Plastic consists of carbon and hydrogen bonds, so it is organic, and living organisms are organic. So you got a picture of what are the various types of organic and inorganic material that we deal with in daily life. Now, how useful are these inorganic compounds, and why should we study inorganic chemistry? Inorganic chemistry has applications in every aspect of the chemical industry. For example, we have learnt about catalysis. You remember what catalysis is? Catalysts are used to speed up reactions. When we studied rate of reaction of chemical compounds, we learned that it is affected by things like temperature, by pressure and concentration, but it also is affected by catalysts. For example, when you want to take vegetable oil and we hydrogenate it to make it into margarine. So you know about how it is like clarified butter. So margarine is solid at room temperature, and it has a different taste and different use, and this is made by hydrogenation of vegetable oils. And hydrogen, when brought into contact with oils, will not react with oil. But if you put some catalyst, for example, if you use platinum and other catalysts, then this hydrogen can react with oil and can form a different compound. So that is called saturated fats, and they are the ones which are used for making biscuits and things like that, so that the biscuit doesn't become oily in our hand. Okay. And also it is used in artificial butter. Okay. And so catalysts are used for making such kind of compounds. Now, material science. We know that the normal natural materials that exist satisfy many of our requirements, but there are some requirements which cannot be met by the normal materials that exist in nature. For them, we need to develop new materials. For example, stainless steel. Now, stainless steel doesn't exist in nature. Iron exists as iron ore, which is an oxide of iron. Now, that cannot be used directly by us because its properties are not like metals. So we need to purify that and make it into steel. And stainless steel is made by adding some other metals into it, which makes them into an alloy of iron. Okay. So this steel making, of course, is a very old science. It's an old technology. We have known it for decades, but it's very commonly used. Now, similarly, there are other materials. For example, silicon. Now, silicon exists in nature as silicon dioxide mostly, that is sand. But silicon, pure silicon, is a very useful material that we use in electronics. So all the electronic circuits we see, they are made up of pure silicon, which are doped with other material to make them into semiconductor devices. We also make various types of materials, like for example the synthetic tiles that we make for our floors. Now, in the past, stones, natural stones like marble, were used for making floors. But there is a limitation of using this natural material, because first of all their supply is limited. The type of material we get is very variable, so their quality, their color and all that changes even in the same source. But if you make tiles by synthetic means, then you can have uniformity, you can have abundant supply, you can have uniformity. So material science deals with making synthetic materials which will be tailored to meet our needs by developing special properties, having quantities, bigger quantities that we can get for meeting our needs. So material science covers inorganic chemistry. So we already seen two very important areas where inorganic chemistry is applied. Third one listed here is pigments. Now look around you, you will see that everything we see is coated with paints, whether it's the furniture, whether it's your wall, whether it is any toy that you have somewhere nearby, anything that you have. Everything is coated with paint and pigments, because first of all we want colorful objects. Secondly, we want to protect them from the elements. So when you have a vehicle, a car or a scooter, they are colored first of all to appeal to the sense of beauty, but they have a more important property, more important requirement, which is to protect against elements. That is why we paint many things. Otherwise there will be no need to paint the underneath the car, right? So pigments form an important component of these paints, so they also belong to inorganic chemistry. Now surfactants, a very important thing. Our clothes are cleaned by detergents and soaps. They are surfactants. They are useful for cleaning purposes, the various coatings. Many medications are inorganic, and fuels. There are some fuels, of course most fuels are fossil fuels, and they are organic. But inorganic chemistry has huge applications in treating these fuels. Even medications, they require metals. The fuels are made using some inorganic chemistry. And agriculture, many of the fertilizers like phosphate fertilizers, etc., they are all inorganic. Now the properties that make inorganic compounds very valuable have to do with, first of all, that many of them are have got ionic and metallic bonds. So for example, sodium chloride, which is a common salt, it has ionic bonds. That's why when you put it in water, this bond it breaks because of the polar nature of water, and it dissolves. Metallic bonds, of course, are the ones that exist in the metals that we use in our daily life. Inorganic compounds have very high melting points. So you can see that many of these, for example, the stones, the metals, they all melt at very high temperatures. So they are used in our daily life where such temperature resistance is important. They are normally easy to crystallize, and most are found as minerals, that is rocks and ores. Some of the important inorganic molecules that we come across: oxygen, hydrogen and water. That of course we know is the most important element for our survival. Nitrogen, ammonia, nitric acid, phosphoric acid, they are all used as fertilizers and part of our natural living organisms. Iron ore, steel, aluminium, copper, zinc, they are all metals. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, so noble metals and very valuable metals. Lithium, lanthanum, molybdenum. Lithium is used for making batteries. Hydrochloric acid, hydrofluoric acid, iodine, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, these are the salts. And of course, diamond, graphite, ruby, sapphire, they are the jewelry, and graphite is a very useful industrial chemical. So you can see that all of them fall under inorganic chemistry. If you want to learn more about them, please go to the Wikipedia article that I had referred to, and there are many other articles you can find in the internet. Okay, we will continue in the next video with organic chemistry. All the best.